Hi, it's Leaf, and today's video contains spoilers for the entire currently available storyline in my time at Sandrock, as well as some speculations. So it's best if you don't watch it before finishing all the main quests. Today I'd like to take a look at Logan, his possible motivations and goals. I imagine this video will probably age like milk, but presented with an unfinished story where I can't just play through the entire campaign to find all the answers, I am going to try to figure things out on my own. Don't treat this video too seriously though, I may be completely wrong, but then again, so what? Let's have some fun. Okay, so everybody's favorite blue-eyed masked villain, Logan. What do we actually know about him? When we first get to Sandrock, not much, apart from his face, and frankly not even that, as even on a wanted poster he's portrayed wearing his mask. We know there's a huge bounty on his head, and that he's a vandal, saboteur, water thief, and all-around perpetrator of bad behavior. Wow. Everybody keeps repeating that Logan is a cold-hearted bad guy, and that's that. Owen sheds a tiny bit of light on him.
Ah, yes. There is an infamous bandit around here named Logan. He used to be a citizen of our town as well. One day he just went crazy and blew up a building. I guess being out here in the desert makes some people lose their minds.
But that still doesn't say much. Who is this guy? What happened? It doesn't take long for him to materialize in person though. One morning, he and his partner in crime, Haru, guns in hands, hijack a train from Atara. They stop a train right before it can reach Sandrock, and it seems that they take something from it. But afterwards we find out that nothing seems to be missing. Nobody got hurt, nobody lost anything.
What a mysterious bunch, those bandits. Went to all the trouble of hijacking a train and didn't even take anything. What kind of train robbers forget to rob the train?
Even Sheriff Justice doesn't quite know what to make of it. So this is that terrifying bandit whose head is worth 100,000 goals? Somehow we're not convinced. In any case, armed robbery, even if nobody gets robbed, is not exactly a commendable action, so Haru gets his own wanted poster too, as this is his first officially recognized criminal offense. He's also portrayed with a mask, even though everybody in Sandrock knows very well what both of them look like. I mean, they probably have photos of them. Even Ernest lampshades this fact when he tries to gather materials for his newspaper article on Logan. The thing is, nobody wants to talk to him. And when we ask them, most people, while angry and disappointed, seem to hope that Logan can yet be set back on the right path. Initially, I thought that the fact that Logan and Haru's wanted posters show them with their masks on is played for laughs. After all, this is not a dead serious game. But I think there's more to it than that. I think by doing that, and also by not wanting to talk to the reporter, the townspeople are actually trying to protect their own. They're giving Logan and Haru a chance to quite literally save their faces, in hopes they eventually manage to turn their lives around. Of course, both guys need to be captured and punished, but after that, they should be allowed to live in peace without their past dragging them down for the rest of their days. It's pure conjecture on my part, but I think it's quite plausible. After the train robbery, we don't hear from Logan for a very long time, but when he reappears, he does so with a bang, literally. In a very showy fashion, he rides through Sandrock, blows up its only water tower, and rides off. Now, this is serious. Water is extremely hard to come by, and the tower is used to store all the water imported from Atara and Portia. By blowing it up, Logan single-handedly cripples Sandrock's ability to survive. Even though, once again, nobody gets hurt, this is a vicious thing to do. Everybody's quite shocked. It seems that Logan has finally gone off the deep end. But has he? We find out that the tower had barely any water in it, and Sandrock is expecting a new delivery very soon. Of course, to receive that delivery, we need a place to store it, so the builders quickly get to work and rebuild the tower. So, in the end, even though seemingly despicable, the stunt Logan has pulled this time turns out to be more along the lines of a statement rather than life-threatening action. It is unsettling, however. Even Elsie, who right until that point was more inclined to admire Logan than condemn him, is visibly shaken, but she still refuses to believe he's a bad guy and takes it upon herself to prove that everything he did for a reason. She's literally the only person in town who suspects there's more to this story than meets the eye. So, what really happened? The story is not difficult to uncover, even though people don't really want to talk about it. However, they do reveal more details when pressed. We also find some information while investigating Logan's house. So, Logan was born and raised in Sandrock. His father was a monster hunter named Howlett. His mother disappeared soon after Logan was born, leaving her family behind. It is believed she simply ran off, but we don't really know the details. Logan was known to be a friendly, not very complicated, yet somewhat impulsive guy. His closest friend was Haru, a brainy lad with a particular talent for chemistry. Logan and Haru often took care of Mayor Trudy's little daughter, Jasmine, and she loved them very much. Generally, they were both well liked, and there was literally no indication that any of them would ever turn to a life of crime. Everything was peachy. Until it wasn't. And this is what the people of Sandrock have to say about it.
Not too long before you started living in Sandrock, a great tragedy struck this town. Howlett, the monster hunter, and his son Logan, with whom you are already quite familiar with, ran into some trouble. Howlett went diving in some ruins explicitly blocked off by the Civil Corps due to an abundance of unknown and dangerous substances. Sure enough, he became contaminated with something bizarre. Logan reacted rather wildly after Pastor Miguel quarantined his father inside the temple and refused to let Logan come in contact with him due to fears of contamination. He couldn't believe his father would be so careless as to come in contact with dangerous Age of Corruption concoctions.
When Howlett came back with the disease and was put in quarantine by the church, Logan really lost it. He started shouting for them to release his paw outside the temple door. Understandable. Howlett was all he had his whole life.
One night during the quarantine, Logan attacked the temple with bombs. I assume it was to free his father from the quarantine. But whatever the case, Logan botched the operation and parts of the temple collapsed. Us church folk were all outside, but Logan's father was still in there where we'd left him, and when we found him down there, he was already gone.
Among the evidence found in Logan's house, there are extensive notes on infectious diseases, Fang's prescription for Howlett, and contact details of a different doctor. So it seems that whatever Howlett was apparently suffering from, Logan tried everything in his power to help him. And Fang, even when pressed, doesn't want to talk about it at all. He rarely wants to talk about anything, but this seems like a particularly sore spot for him.
No answer. No.
And potentially something for a completely different video. I'm not gonna attempt to figure out what really happened to Howlett because at this point there is no sufficient data, and I'm not gonna try to answer the question whether Logan really accidentally killed him with his explosion or why he really blew up the church in the first place. But I think that what he did was so much more than just a blind attempt at freeing his father from quarantine. What if Howlett discovered something in those ruins, something that nobody should know about for some reason? Maybe it's extremely dangerous. Maybe it's just something best left uncovered for different reasons. Okay, I never said it was gonna be coherent and logical. Maybe, rather than trying to get his father out, Logan actually wanted to get something potentially dangerous or incriminating that Howlett was carrying with him. Maybe Howlett was already dead. Maybe it was radiation poisoning. Maybe there are nuclear missiles underground. Maybe a bioweapon. I don't know. We can only guess. Anyway, I think that everything that happened in Sandrock since our arrival is actually Logan's doing. Yes, including the gigglers. However, he is not in fact a bad guy. He is desperately trying to either save everybody from something or keep them from discovering something. Or both. I mean, think about it. Just before we come to Sandrock, it's a relatively peaceful place. Sleepy, stagnant, there are no tourists, and nothing major's happening. Local ruins are not being explored because one is considered a bit too dangerous, one is blocked off by a door with a broken lock, and one is inaccessible because of a broken lift. The only decent builder in town, Mason, takes no more commissions as he has just retired and he'll be leaving soon. The town is looking for a replacement, but it's almost hopeless given that Sandrock has a really bad reputation. It's in the middle of a desert, there's a water shortage, the weather is harsh, and on top of everything, It's not quite safe due to the presence of bandits and mutated lizards. Bandits being Logan and Haru, and mutated lizards being the Gigglers, who recently became very active in the area. So, a new builder actually coming to Sandrock is a surprise. 2 new builders? Why, that's basically a miracle. And what is the first thing that we do after coming to Sandrock? We fix that damn lift. And thanks to this, the local mining company can return to work. And that's when things start going south pretty quickly. The Gigglers become more audacious than ever. They've already been taking apart one of the bridges, but now they start throwing trash into the only natural water source in town. Then there's the incident with the train. And then Gigglers destroy the machine responsible for watering crops in Sandrock's only greenhouse, which may, in the long run, result in famine. When we enter hazardous ruins known as the Breach to look for parts we need to fix the machine, Gigglers are already there, trying to steal whatever they can lay their hands on. We have to fight them before we can take the artifact we need. We successfully repair the machine and all's well again. However, the Gigglers still pose a threat as they keep dismantling the bridge, and eventually a Terran government decides to stop all train service to Sandrock. Because Sandrock imports a lot of water from Atara, we are now faced with a new threat: thirst. The situation looks particularly dire, so the Gigglers need to be dealt with, and the bridge needs to be repaired. So we go on a mission. It turns out the lizard folk have been stealing parts of the bridge to construct an armored train, which they want to use in the attack on Sandrock they've been planning for quite a while. And they kinda managed to do just that. However, they need to drive the train across the canyon using the very bridge they were stripping for parts. The result is what you might expect. And so now the Gigglers are gone, but we have to rebuild the whole bridge. It's a huge undertaking, basically the whole town is involved, financial help from other free cities is also required, but of course, in the end, we succeed. Once again, Sandrock is saved, and things are looking up. So, Katori comes up with a plan to both provide entertainment for the psychologically exhausted townspeople and to finally attract some tourists.
I present to you sand sledding. But we won't call it that, no, too simple. We'll call it sand running. Sounds sleek and sophisticated, something the youth can identify with. Our tourism profits will quintuple overnight, and the mental health crisis, I assume, will also be resolved.
And so, we build what she wants us to, and she starts preparations for the grand opening. It's supposed to be huge, she spares no expense, and no one shows up. Because right before that, Logan decides to blow up the water tower. Doesn't it all look like someone is actively trying to make Sandrock fall? Like someone wants to force all the inhabitants out by applying just enough pressure to make life extremely difficult for them, but not to put anyone in any imminent danger? At least as long as they just give up and leave. All of the Giggler attacks were surprisingly effective in minimizing the town's chances of survival. But the Gigglers, even though more intelligent and organized than one would expect, still weren't smart enough to foresee the consequences of their own actions. That's how they lost their train and their boss. And when that happened, those who survived scattered. I don't think they came up with all those plans on their own. Moreover, if we look at everything from a distance, it seems like it was carefully designed to look like Gigglers doing stupid Giggler things while aiming at something else. Like it had its very own, very specific goals that poor silly Gigglers simply couldn't see. Perhaps someone used their hatred towards humans and enticed them, tricked them into doing all those things without them even knowing what they were getting themselves into. They were meant to fail. They were never really supposed to take over Sandrock or whatever. Also, initially, the raiding parties were small. Only a handful attacked the moisture farm. Even fewer came to throw trash into the pond, and faced with the angry sheriff, they ran away. They were only supposed to be a nuisance while following the instructions from someone with a bigger picture in mind. And then, manipulated into the attack, they were supposed to all die exactly like their boss died. Even what the Giggler president says may actually be a hint that indeed Gigglers are being aided by a human.
They, meaning the Manfred, are not fit to be the rulers of this world. They lie, cheat, and even conspire against their own.
So, somebody wants all the people of Sandrock to finally decide they've had enough, to pack their things, and leave. But leave physically unscathed. And at the same time, somebody wants to stop new people from coming to Sandrock. Somebody made sure that the grand opening of Katori's sand running games would be completely overshadowed by a sudden bandit attack. Who could that be? But more importantly, why? As I already said, I think Logan knows something. I believe he was the one who broke the lock on the gate, he was the one who broke the lift, and he was the one who made sure they don't get repaired. He probably even forced Mason to retire. That's why Mason is so awkward about it and acts so strange. And also, he knew Jan's incompetence well enough to be certain that the president simply won't lift a finger. Before we showed up, Logan was probably planning on Sandrock to fade away slowly, almost on its own. The mining company cut off from the ruins would eventually leave. Then, the Gigglers would mount their unsuccessful attack, and the bridge would collapse, cutting off the connection with Atara, and hopefully forcing everyone out. Rumors of bandits would keep others away, and it would all gradually come to an end. But then we show up and start repairing everything, and Logan is worried, so he needs to pick up the pace. But we keep succeeding. They bend over backwards, trying to scare the townspeople away and make sure nobody gets hurt, but nobody is leaving. To make matters worse, the town is starting to become more and more successful. Katori even plans on attracting tourists. So blowing up the water tower is actually Logan getting desperate. We've been thwarting his efforts ever since we moved to Sandrock. Now it's personal. So, I don't think Logan's a true villain, but circumstances forced him to appear as one, to become one in the eyes of his former friends. It is a very well-known and heavily romanticized trope, a silent, misunderstood hero who chooses a life of exile to protect those he cares about. He is prepared to do some things that will be interpreted as purely evil, and he is prepared to be blamed for everything for the greater good. So, that's my take on Logan. Everything I said should be taken with a grain of salt, because I'm just guessing. If you have your own theories, please share them in the comment section below. I'd really love to read them, honestly. Unless you really don't want to, it's up to you. In any case, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next video. Take care.